As you move through life, uh, there are you're bound to encounter some disappointments. Uh, they This is kind of a normal part of life. Usually, we don't actually cope very well with that. I mean, we get depressed, so we start to blame other people. Sometimes things that are not personal, we take it personally. So I would say that as I move through life, I think that you don't actually deal with it that well because the first time you encounter a situation like that, you have no experience to kind of deal with it with finesse. And so I think that most people handle disappointments kind of clumsily. They take things personally that they shouldn't take personally. They think they try to blame other people. Sometimes they blame themselves. They get depressed. They think life is not fair. And the I remember I had one experience of somebody that did something to me that I thought was very unfair. It took me several years to get over it. And I say, then you get the idea that, like you suggested once, when you do something like that, the only person you're hurting is yourself, right? So, but of course, there's no point in your people telling you this. I mean, gradually through experience, uh, things that used to be really important to you, uh, later on. I mean, as you grow older, you just don't have the energy, the energy to get angry at everything, right? So I tell people if you think of yourself as being run by 2D batteries, I said, now, every time you get angry, it's drawing current, right? So, so you say to yourself, these 2D batteries have to last me the next several years. Every time I can only get angry like once a month, only for about 2 minutes, right? So a lot of, when you start to think about how so much of our energy is dissipated by the little irritations of life and like I was thinking like your mother is always late, all right, no matter. So I'm saying I'm draining batteries, right? Because I'm saying so. I mean, it's now you would think you're a grown man, James. I would think by now you figure out some way to handle this, right? So I'm very conscious now about monitoring my emotions and make sure that throughout the day it's not being dissipated and drawing batteries. Uh, so I think we talk about mindfulness. If you begin the day and you say, usually I start my day all scattered. I'm thinking of all the things I got to do today. But like, if you follow Brother Lawrence, who was a dishwasher in the monastery, he had a book called The Practice of the Presence of God. And he said, what he discovered is that if you only do one thing at a time, don't multitask, all right? When you're washing dishes, you give your full attention to it. It's like you're serving communion. I mean, it's like the Japanese tea ceremony. You completely, all your senses are involved and they do things very slowly, deliberately, and try to open up all their senses. And I discovered that like if you do that, you put it aside, move on to the next thing, give that your full attention. After that, you put that aside, give that next. It's like your patient, right? You see a patient, you give the patient your full attention, and then after that, you have a little rest. and then you give the next your foot. Then at the end of the day, you're not as tired. But when you're doing one thing and thinking of three other things, that's what tires you out. And so I'm sort of learning how to do that. But I'm an old man. I should have learned that 40 years ago. But like when you do the Tai Chi or when you do Tai Chi type movements, most people are thinking about other things when they're doing it, or they're on a stationary bike, they're reading a book, right? And when they're sitting in the john, they're reading a magazine. They're not present, and that's why, like your mother used to say, "You're never home." I said, "I'm home. Look at my date book, right?" He says, "Yeah, you might as well not be." In other words, you're not actually present, right? So I used to have a guy come in from the street. He's mentally ill, actually. He's walking along the street, he's shouting at people. And then, because the church door is open, he just walks up. And then my door's open, he just sits down. And then he would come in the morning when I'm doing something. And then so I finally decided that when he comes in, for 10 minutes, I'm going to give him my full attention, right? And then I'm going to say something like, "I got things to do now," or something like that, and he will leave, right? So I'm not angry, because I'm giving him my full attention. I'm fully present for him. But like most of the time, we're not actually fully present. We're not fully present like for other people, where our mind is somewhere else. And even if you pay a psychiatrist for how much an hour, sometimes he's not fully present, right? So I'm saying, that's why when I'm talking to a group about, I say, "You're listening to me, I'm doing this over, you're not fully present." I mean, maybe a few of you are, but most of you are only partially present, all right, partially.